you join me here. I'm up at this moment in time in the middle of the Crumlin Road. We're in the Crumlin Star Social Club. As you can hear, there's massive noise behind me here. We're all here today for one reason only. Eamon Macauley, one of Ardoyne's most successful and most loved boxing sporting sons, is launching his book today. It's an absolutely fantastic occasion. You can hear there's lots of noise coming from people behind me here, lots of support for this day, which is Eamon's day, which he's looked forward to for so much. Now, Eamon had a glittering boxing career, an amateur boxing career, being the only Irish fighter to go to the middle of the heat of the cauldron, in the middle of Wembley, and lift an ABA title. That was some feat. So we're here today, and I'm going to be collecting some highlights for you. I'm also going to be making sure that I get a bit of interview and a bit of chat with some of the more famous names in Irish boxing from Ulster. But mainly, we're here for Eamon Macauley's big day, and it's the book launch of Fighting to Find Peace.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome here to the Crumlin Star for the launch of Eamon's book. My name is Barry Flynn. I'm a friend of Eamon's. I'm very proud to say today that I am a friend of Eamon's because I think it's a monumental occasion, not only for Eamon, it's for the people of Ardoyne, the people of Belfast, the people of Ireland, that today we're here to launch Eamon's book. Now, I'm going to say a couple of things. The first thing I'm going to say is that reading through the book, there's more black eyes and punches and fights and everything in it. Actually, I felt very sore after reading the book, okay? And the second thing I will say to you is this. There's a film doing the rounds called Belfast at present. If you really want to know what Belfast was like between the years 1966 and now, it's encapsulated in this book, because this book is not just a story about Eamon, it's a story about his father, it's a story about Eamon's struggles, it's a story about boxing, it's a story about Belfast, and it's a story about Ardoyne. So, give Eamon a round of applause for what he's doing today. In the book, Eamon speaks very lovingly about his father, a very well-known character, Patsy Coco McAuley. And he has documented in this book some of the things that his father did and why his father was famous. But let's just say, he was a hard man in Belfast. He really was a hard man, but he was a fair man. And I remember when his father died in 2013. Eamon asked me to do a piece in the Irish News, the Remembrance page, which is on a Saturday, and it was a great privilege for me to write. And one of the things that I found out about Patsy McAuley was that he got a Queen's Award in 1974 because he jumped into the River Lagan to save a woman who was trying to take her own life. And he got this award, and afterwards, yes, there it is there, you can see it in the background. Afterwards, the woman who he saved was so annoyed that she attacked him with his umbrella. So you're saying to yourself, such is life. You try and do a good thing for someone, you get an award from the Queen for what you've done, but nobody gives you any thanks in life, okay? That went into the book, and the other day I was going through the Belfast Telegraph for 1974, and we discovered the picture on the front page. Eamon had been looking for it for years down in the Central Library. But do you remember the Telegraph used to have like all the different versions, and everybody wanted the 6th telly, which was the later one, which was the most up to date. Well, this picture only appeared in the 6th telly, and I found it online, and it's an absolute privilege. I'm going to get it printed out and framed so you can put it in the house. It's Patsy getting the award along with Eamon's mum in their house way back in 1974, which shows the goodness that Patsy McAuley had at heart. But I'm going to talk about Eamon. I met him about 10 years ago. He approached Alex Maskey. Eamon's great uncle was Rindy Monaghan. Now, talk about a boxing pedigree. My goodness, you couldn't get any better within Belfast for being a relative of Rindy Monaghan. He approached Alex and he says, we need to do something. We need to celebrate a man, Rindy Monaghan, a boxer from humble origins who brought pride to this city. Because, I'm going to say this, you've heard it before, if you think the people of Belfast own Belfast, they don't. It's owned by the Chichesters and the Salisburys and the Shaftesburys and the Donegals. They wouldn't name anything after a working class hero. So we fought and fought and fought, and Eamon led the Belfast boxing ring, and eventually we got the money. And not only did we celebrate Rinty Monaghan with a statue that will be in the centre of Belfast forever and ever, but we also celebrated John Caldwell in Dunville Park, and we also celebrated all the boxers from the Shankill in Woodville Park. Eamon led on that. His uncle Tommy had approached him and says, you know, I think it was his dying wish, he wanted to see his brother Rinty Monaghan celebrated. And my goodness, Eamon did bring that forward, and we did get a son of this city honoured forever and ever. Today we're here to honour another son of Belfast. Eamon was born on the 4th of January 1966. Tom Jones was #1 in the charts with the Green Green Grass at Home. It could only get better, Eamon, couldn't it? Eamon's book documents the 25 years of Ardoyne from the period 1969 to 1994, a very difficult period for this area. The things that Eamon has seen, and everybody who lived in this area, what they went through, is documented in this book. I think health and safety wouldn't allow children to be brought up in conditions like that. But it's all in this book. Everything that happened on the streets that Eamon witnessed, and also his great boxing career. And he doesn't really get so much of the thanks and gratitude he should get for what he did. His pinnacle, as I would call it, was live on BBC One in 1985 when he knocked out Carl Crook in the final of the ABAs. That was big. Harry Carpenter was commentating. He was a British champion. From here, a British champion. I think some of the fight may be shown. And I'll tell you what, it comes with a warning. Please, this was brutal. But Eamon, my goodness, some bloody shot you hit him with. He always said, his father said, when somebody's coming into you, throw the punch short, it's the hardest one. And my goodness, you will see that today. But look, I'm not the star of the show. His name's Eamon, he's not too far away. I'm going to leave you with a quote, Eamon. And it's from John Keats, the famous poet. And he said, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a thing of beauty and a joy forever. Eamon, say a few words. Thank you very much.
Well, this is the moment. It has arrived. I've been dreading this. Terrified. I'm not used to public squeaking. I mispronunciate a lot of my words. Mispronunciate a lot of my words. Very nervous. I'm just going to read this from. Put my glasses on. About 8 years ago, I started to write a few stories for a local magazine, Horizon. Then I fell in love with writing, and I found it very comforting at a difficult time in my life. Then I decided to write about my dad and growing up in Ardoyne. That's how the book came about. I just kept adding to these stories, and I shared my stories with a few friends, and they encouraged me to keep going. Initially I was writing the stories on a notebook, and then I went up to the Ardoyne Library, and that was where I had the pleasure of meeting Trevor Gordon, who was in charge of the library. And that's when I typed it out on the computer, and Trevor saved it for me. Then I really started to get into it, and I would go up from time to time and add to my story. Just as I was about to look for a publisher, a book came out about Ardoyne's Eamon McGee. This was a big setback for me, as I knew it would be silly to release a book about a boxer from Ardoyne called Eamon, when there already was a book out about a boxer from Ardoyne called Eamon. I put my book on hold for a few years and wasn't even sure if I wanted to carry on. But Trevor and all the staff at Ardoyne Library were very encouraging, and I eventually came back to it. I added a few more stories, made a few changes, and Trevor sent the first 3 chapters to publishers. We got a good response, and quite a few wanted to publish my book. A guy around my age with a Derry accent rang me one day, and he was from Morton Place in Dublin. We spoke for over 20 minutes. And he told me my upbringing was very similar to his. And that reading the first 3 chapters of the book brought it all back to him, and he loved it. He said that he couldn't wait to read the rest of the book, whatever publisher I went with. That really boosted my confidence in the book. And it was down to him that I went with Orban. I can't even remember his name now. I also want to thank Dr. Anthony McAuley for his help with spelling, grammar, and putting the stories together in a coherent manner. Thank you, Anthony. I also want to thank Kieran McGee for his help and support, Jimmy and Tony McNulty, Barry Flynn and Karen Crossan. Thank you also to everyone who bought a copy of the book. Also like to take this opportunity to thank my manager, Mr. Eastwood, my coach, Bobby McAllister, my sparring partners. I was just getting on my Barry McGuigan. There's a wee bit of David Brandt in me. I suppose, you know, David Brandt, the character Ricky Gervais, played in the Office. Take my glasses off myself. But that's not such a bad thing. It wouldn't be bad if there was a wee bit of David Brandt in all of us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So as you can see, we've had an absolutely fantastic day here so far. Quite a celebration going on here in the Crumlin Star Club. It's absolutely fantastic to see so many people out supporting today's event. I'm going to have a chat here with some of the former boxers who took time out and arrived here today to have a bit of fun and a bit of crack and enjoy a sandwich and a cup of tea and purchase a book of Eamon Macaulay's new life story, which was brought out there the other day, and the lunch here today. Absolutely fantastic to see so many people out and about. It's called Fighting for Peace, and I'm here with a handful of other former boxers who know Eamon and have also sparred with Eamon in the ring, so it's going to be nice to hear what they have to say, and here's a couple of them here. Yeah, so as I say, I'm here with some of the celebrities from today that's here to enjoy an absolutely fantastic day. I've got Jim Rock with me here. Jim, this has been a great momentous moment here for Eamon Macaulay. Jim, obviously you're a professional boxer yourself and an amateur obviously going through, but Eamon Macaulay there, what a character.
He's a great fella, real encyclopedia of boxing. Knows everything about it.
I call him the Irish Bert Sugar.
I'd call him the Irish Jimmy McGee. Look, he's very knowledgeable, knows his boxing inside out, comes from a great boxing family, and it's just great to come up here and lend me support today for his book launch.
It's absolutely fantastic to see such a guy from his area who's done so much for his area, promoting it in a positive manner, to be bringing this book out. And as you can see, the people that are here today, it's just a fantastic event, Jim, isn't it? You know, it's great to see boxing really getting back on the map again post-COVID.
Oh yeah, it is. It's great to see it getting back, and I always say that, like, boxers usually always come from lower to middle class areas, as opposed to, let's say, whether you have your footballers or rugby players from middle to high class areas, you know what I mean? So I always think the boxers, they put a little bit more into their areas. They never forget where they're from, and you can see from the turnout here today, there's plenty of people who respect them, plenty of people come to support them.
And there's people here from every neck of the woods in Belfast, and yourself not even from Belfast, from down south, you know, so...
Well, I drove up today.
Isn't it?
I drove 130 miles today just to come up for this book launch, and I'll drive back down. But you know, Belfast, I box in Belfast here, but I have a special bond with Belfast, so I'd always want to support the Belfast boxers, because as I always say, if it wasn't for Belfast, I wouldn't have been a professional fighter.
Jim Webb. So yeah, I'm here with another absolute legend of Belfast boxing, and you know, these guys all stick together, and today it's just as proof of what it all means and what boxing has done for working class people in Belfast and Belfast City and Ulster and Ireland, all around. I'm here with John Lowe. John, a former champion yourself, John. It's a great event here today for Eamon Macaulay. Your experience as Eamon Macaulay over the years, John, can you tell me some of your stories?
Well, me and Eamon go back over 30 years ago. It's a long time. So I boxed for Ledley Hall, he boxed for Sacred Heart, and we used to have inter-competitions and that there. He used to come over, box over in the east. We had shows in the Welders Club, the Corn Club, Park Avenue, and he boxed a couple of boys out of our boxing club back then. That's where I got to know him, and then whenever I turned professional, he was in Born Eastwood's gym, which was another where I turned after the 88 Olympics.
You know, your own career, John, was absolutely glittering. You know, you had a massive career. Eamon there maybe just didn't travel as far on, you know, and of course he regrets it. But you know, to bring a book out and to bring it out within your own community and involve your own community efforts within it, it really is a success story in its own right.
Well, I think with a lot of the boxers you'll find that their feet never leave the ground.
A humble crowd, John. A great humble crowd of guys. John's just saying there, and I must actually say to you viewers out there, rugby and boxing really is the only two things that we can combine, that everybody can be part of on the island of Ireland, Northern Ireland, all that there, John. And boxing really is something that stands. The stability that you guys have is friendships built for years.
It is for years, because as I've said, it's over 30 years ago. Again, some of the old trainers that I knew way back then still about. It's nice to see that Eamon's getting the support of everybody.
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt about it, and it's a fantastic day for Eamon, and it's a great day for yourselves and all the other guys who are here. I'm going to have a word obviously with Eamonn Locker there and Big Neil Sinclair, but at the moment in time this is John Lowe here, and just with John Louie, and just with John here, absolute legend. Yeah, so we're here again with Eamonn Locker here, Ballymina's WBO 5-time defending world welterweight champion from 1993 to 1996. Eamon, your experiences with Eamon Macaulay. First of all, this is a fantastic event and a great day, isn't it? It's absolutely fantastic, isn't it?
Great turnout, Sherman. So it's lovely to see and run into ex-boxers, Eamon Macaulay, Neil Sinclair, Jim Rock, and guys like that, Paul McCulloch. Guys, just come back over the wee stories again, but I'm looking forward to reading this book. So it's one of them. There's nobody probably I know of, and I'm sure you're the same, that knows boxing more than Eamon Macaulay.
I was saying to a wee bit of Paddy Graham there earlier on there, he's the Irish Bert Sugar.
I would have to agree with you there, so would I.
Bert Sugar for all you viewers out there, it's the most, he must be the smartest boxing man in history, isn't he?
He knows his stuff, so
well, he's the Irish Bert Sugar, isn't he?
And I mean, sometimes we think we know, and he corrects us, so it does. And
I've had enough of him correct me.
He's corrected you a few times, Sherman, and me too. So he has, as far as the history. He actually knows every guy that he's boxed, amateur and professional. Eamon Macaulay does. And I think to myself, like, I couldn't remember 10 guys that I've boxed, so I couldn't, so he's got a great memory.
One thing you would remember is that day down in Castle Street, whenever you first come up into Castle Street in Belfast to the Barney Eastwood stable, and you sparred Eamon, and he was a challenger for a British title and stuff at the time. So what sort of experience did you gain from the likes of Grammy, Eamon? What did that offer you?
He would have been 4 or 5 years older than me, or 3 or 4 years older than me, and he had just won the ABAs. He was a massive name, as Barney Eastwood had made it clear that he was his big man, or he was his main man at that time. And I had a young boy, I was 17, 18 years of age, coming up and to spar with this great guy that knocked everybody out in ABAs. And as you can see in the spars, they were nip and tuck the whole way.
There was no letting up, Eamon. The two years were getting into each other, but obviously, back to Eamon Macaulay here, I can't reiterate how great it is to be here, just to be doing this bit of recording here with some of the famous boxing names which are friends of Eamon Macaulay. Eamon Macaulay, what is he? What does he mean to you?
He's a great fella and a friend over the years, and now at the end of his career's over, same as my career's over. He's also a man of faith, so he likes his prayers, so he does, and it's just a genuinely lovely guy, so he is, a sincere guy, family man, so he is. He looks after his kids and his wife and things like that there, so he's a lovely guy, and I just class him as a good friend, so over the years. That's why I'm here today, supporting his book, so it is, give him that wee push.
As I say, we can't reiterate how much it's great. It's been so great to be invited up here to be part of this here. I think I speak on behalf of Eamon and most of the other guys here that I'll be looking forward to having a chat with, Neil Sinclair and guys like that. It really is a momentous event, Eamon. We're just proud to be here, aren't we?
That's all right, because the book's good. It's about Eamon, obviously, but there's so much more in it. I know a lot of things about him and his boxing career and things like that, the ABAs that he won. But there's also stories in it about his.
You're bringing in the social life there, Eamon, aren't you?
And monarch and stuff like that there, and his own life, the ups and the downs of a boxer's career, and that's what it is, isn't it? You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to his book, so getting to read on it. I think it'll be a great book.
Eamon, there must be 300 people in here, and I think they're all looking forward to getting the book as well. And listen, you heard it from the champ. Yeah, so here again with another of our Down's most famous sons, Jody Gorman, Cliftonville Starlight. Everybody knows Joe the Goal. Jody, Eamon Macaulay, it's a fantastic day. Your experience with Eamon, what a guy.
Oh no, he's an incredible guy, and I've known him throughout the years. Growing up in Ardown, I always heard of Eamon Macaulay being one of the best boxers about, and it's great to know him. And as a Cliftonville fan, it's even better. You know, throughout the years I've done interviews with Eamon, and what a guy he is. He's amazing.
He is. He's an absolute legend. There's no doubt about it. Jody, the book, it's not just about boxing. It's about his life growing up in this area, a very, very hard hit area during the Troubles, which we're all very aware of. You know, so for a man to grow out, to grow through that area, and to go into the heat of the cauldron in Wembley, in the middle of London, as a lonely Irish lad, win a British title, bring it back to his people. That's a massive achievement for a guy there. You know.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. To go out there and win the titles and stuff. He's an amazing man. Listen. Ardoyne is a small place with a lot of talented people, and Eamon Macauley was top of the list, I'd say. Growing up, knowing of them boxing and stuff, and he's an amazing guy.
There's absolutely no doubt about it. I think it's very fair to say to you, for years out here, Jody, I'm sure you would agree, Eamon is Ardoyne through and through, and he's for his own community, and he worked for his own community, and the voluntary work he does there, and the door work he does. He's a very influential man to people.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt.
Passing on the positive vibe and all.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, and you need people like Eamon in Ardoyne. You know, people will say a lot of bad things about Ardoyne, and Eamon will tell you it's an amazing place. I'm from Ardoyne myself. I love it. I love the people in it, and Eamon is at the pinnacle of it. He has created so much for the community, and his boxing brings a lot of. You know, it's amazing. It is like there's no words that can describe what he does for the community.
And I would imagine, Jody, that in this book there's going to be heartfelt feelings, emotions, passions, and most importantly, human truths from him, not only about the surrounding area, but about his challenges in life.
Yeah,
and we all have challenges, Jody. You know, the mental wellness.
No, 100%, and I'm not really a big reader, but I'll definitely read this book, and I want to see what way he grew up and stuff through the Troubles, because I'm sure his experiences and my experiences are a lot different, and I would love to read this book and see what it's like, and just to see what the guy's like himself. I know him as a person, but I would love to read it about his past life and times now, you know.
Joe the goal. Okay, so here with another of one of Ulster's most famous boxing sons, Big Neil Sinclair, Neil Silke, Eamon Macauley. Give us something on Eamon Macauley. What a man.
Oh yes, I must have sparred about 100 rounds with Eamon in the Holy Family. I was boxing out of the Holy Family as an amateur, and it was probably about 17, 18, and we sparred, and I was, you know, Jerry would have pulled me out after a few rounds when Eamon was just about to get into his stride, being a professional boxer and that. But the last time I sparred Eamon, he hit me a big right hand straight on the nose, and the blood, and that was the end of the spar. We never sparred again. But so when people talk about him being a puncher, or people talk about me being a puncher, I had first-hand experience. I know that he could punch, but I wasn't watching it. I wasn't watching him knocking out Carl Crook or anything like that. It was first-hand experience. So people say, you know, Eamon could punch, you know, with the right hand. He says, I know all about it.
You're on the other end of it.
I was on the receiving end, you know, and I've did that to the other people, but it's also been done to me. So I know.
A double-sided coin.
It is. You gotta be able to take it as well as give it, and that was a learning curve for me. You know, just training with a professional and sparring a professional, and then years later we've hooked up. We've went out and met up for coffees and stuff. So I got to know him later on in the later years, and you know, and he's a gentleman, as you know, and I'm delighted that his book's doing so well.
And there's a great crowd here today. There's been a great crowd. It really has been good, and some big names like yourself and Eamon Locker, and boys, you know.
I knew it would.
Really is.
I knew it would be a success. Actually, when I was going up to get the books, Karen was saying the books were all sold out, so I gave me a address and paid the money for 3 books, and then she came up to me later and says, "No, I've got 3 books, so that's good. I can go home now and start reading the book, and the other 2 books are for friends of mine." So.
I'm sure, Neil, that in the book there's going to be some real good interest in reading, you know, because as I've said to other people there, and big Jody Gorman was on talking there, and some of the other famous people there, the situation is it's not just about boxing, it's about his life, it's about mindfulness and all. You know, so it really is going to be quite an interesting reading, you know, and I'm sure you would agree there.
It is. I mean, everybody's got a warts and all story, and Eamon's, I've had highs and I've got lows, and I'm sure Eamon's had highs and he's had lows, and it's good that you put that to paper now. He can write down his experiences, and I know Eamon's a good storyteller, and he can talk, and he loves the big words and that, so he'll be articulate, and it'll be an articulate read, and And I'm looking forward to going home and starting to read it. So I'm just glad that so many people that I know are here, and it's not a funeral. So I'm delighted. I'm delighted for him, and he deserves it. You know, Eamon McGee had a book a few years ago, which was a success.
That's right.
And I hope this is equally successful. You know. So.
What about yourself? Would you go down that line, Neil, and tell your story, your life story, your boxing story, or something? Maybe
yes.
you know. I think it's a great way to deal with things like that. There, do you not think? Would you not
is.
encourage that?
I mean, I've got a story to tell. Everybody's got a story to tell. You know, we were talking about ups and downs. I could talk about, you know, my big wins in the ring, amateur and pro, and then I could talk about mental illness as well. It seems the whole world could talk about it now. The world's mentally ill.
And we're in a more open world now through the social media, and it gives that chance to raise that issue.
It's not as big a stigma, you know. People can talk about it, even you know, people that are perceived as big hard men and all that. I'm not putting myself in that bracket, but people like that, rugby players and footballers, you know, they're coming out now and they can speak about their experiences, and that's good for people coming up that have problems.
I totally agree myself.
Yes, people that you're helping somebody, even if you're just helping one person, it's worth it. So you never know. Maybe Eamon will be at my book launch one day, you know, and I'll be writing out a copy for him. And
you know that if you ever need any coverage, you'll just come and give me a shout, you know.
Well, absolutely.
Big Silke, you know. You know, thanks for being here today. I've really enjoyed chatting to all the guys, and thank you for giving me some of your time. You're a gentleman. Okay, Big Neil. Big Silke, huh? What a guy. So I'm here eventually. I was able to push everyone else out of the road, and obviously trying my best to get a chat with the man of the day here, Mr. Raymond Macauley. Eamon, Fighting for Peace. What a name for a book, for a man coming from Belfast, from this area here, through your lifetime and going to England, winning a British title, bringing it back home. Your life struggles, your happiness, your downs, your ups, your overs, your father, and all that there is to take to do with everything.
Yeah.
This is a remarkable day. How do you feel today, Eamon?
I can't take the credit for the title, unfortunately. I was a friend, Anthony McEwen, who came up with that title, I liked it straight away.
It sounds just...
It sounded good,
I think it covers everything, Eamon.
I was even doing the door. It's always been spelling somehow in my life, you know. I've always been fighting in the ring and outside the ring, you know, doing the door over 30 years. And my dad's history, you know. Yeah.
So, do you think, Eamon, that history there coming from your father, from the fighting point of view, do you think that has served you whenever you went into the ring? You were, my father's this, and I hate to maintain this stability, the attitude, the winning attitude in the ring now, in the ring.
Oh yeah, well, it was well ingrained in the family, boxing and fighting. I mean, my father's father, my granddad Harry McAuley, was a professional pugilist. He was Northern Ireland champion, which he won over 15 rounds against Billy Donnelly. So, and he had 4 great fights with Jim McCann, great fighter my granddad was. So that was my dad's father. His mother was Rinty Monaghan's oldest sibling. So it was in both sides of the family.
Very much so.
In horse racing terms, we would have been thoroughbreds. It's in the breeding, So yes, I just loved the fight, loved every minute of it. My career was short and explosive, but I loved every minute of it.
You would do it all over again?
Oh, with a heart and a half.
And if only you could get half the chance, Eamon. I know.
You know, I became vegan, I became vegetarian, and I lost my strength, I lost my power, and then I lost my confidence. I hadn't a sense to work out. I wasn't replacing, I mean, where was I getting calcium and iron and protein from, you know?
I understand,
so
Eamon,
we're a lot further on today.
Well,
30 years ago, I was doing that 30 years ago. I was on a bit of a one-man crusade coming from Ardoyne, so I had nobody to give me help or educate me on that.
There was no educational promotions there, Eamon, for that at that stage, you know.
If I could do it all again, I would still be strong, I would still be healthy, and I would still be a vegetarian and vegan.
And you were going right through another 10 or 15 years.
So
Eamon,
I'm still an athlete today. I'm still strong now because subsidised, and I get my nutrients, and I know how to get calcium and iron and protein. So just a pity all them years ago. That's what happened in my boxing career.
And Eamon, it is what it is, and it was what it was.
It is what it is, and 10 wonderful years. Travelled the world, met some great people like Eamonn Locker and Barry McGuigan. You know, sparred world champions in Panama and Colombia, Los Angeles. I mean, Israel had a great boxing career.
People can only dream of things like that there. Eamon, Fighting for Peace then, obviously, it involves quite a lot of personal stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And how did you get that out, Eamon? Was it something you had to do? Was this something you had to do? Did you have to get rid of something? Or did you have to give it to your community? Did you
No, well, God came into my life. I let God was knocking on the door for years, but I wasn't letting him in. But I'd done a thing called Curcio, which blew me away. It's a 3-day walk, a spiritual walk, not a physical walk with Christ. And that absolutely blew me away. And that was 20 odd years ago, and I'm still involved with Curcio today. So that's what it was, changed, letting God in, because he was knocking on the door. I just wasn't opening the door for him, because God never forces. But I've got God in my life now. I've got inner peace, and I've got my faith, and that's everything to me. That is everything to me. And everything, any problems, anything, God, I talk to God about it.
Unbelievable, Eamon, absolutely inspirational.
And you know our good friend Eamonn Locker is very, very Christian too, you know.
I'm very aware indeed. He speaks extremely highly of you from that perspective.
Well, me and Eamon carried the banner. In the city centre.
Yeah, you did indeed.
We're both in your faith.
The Sunday World covered the Sunday World. The Irish News covered that there because that was a massive story. Two former fighters now fighting for the right of the born child.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, Eamon, the crowd that was here earlier on, there must have been 300 or 400 people in here. It was absolutely fantastic. How did you were mentioning there 10 minutes ago that there was very little people about, and then all of a sudden half the town walked in. So how does it feel at the end of the day, Eamon? How has this went down for you?
They must have been all watching the Celtic match, because when that finished, I mean, they all come in their droves.
Well, they probably were. They probably were. I'm a Partick Thistle fan, by the way, so listen, don't be starting now, Eamon. Come on, you hear me up here in the wrong place, but I think, Eamon, I think it's been a momentous moment and a great day, and it's been a momentous moment for you.
I've really enjoyed writing the book. I've really enjoyed everything about it. It's just everything's went so well. I'm touched, if not deeply moved, with the response. I know the Ardoyne people would have come out in numbers, and I'm very, very proud to say I'm from Ardoyne. And the book's dedicated to the people of Ardoyne who have suffered so greatly. But I enjoyed every minute of writing the book. I enjoyed writing stories about my dad, and maybe hopefully one day there will be a book about my dad, because the things he's come through.
Tales.
He could write 10 books.
I totally understand. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I think I'm not stuck for words, but I'm just in the presence of a great man here. Eamon, I want to say thanks for inviting me up. I want to say thanks for inviting me up. As I've told you before, you were one of my main inspirations for getting a microphone and going out and doing bits and bobs, because I always watched all your stuff. It was actually my best friend Eamonn Locker that put me on to you, and then I looked at all your stuff, and I looked at all the stuff with Jerry Hamill and all the old great names, Paddy Graham and all the boys, and I told him to avoid all the boys from Ballymena. Of course, they're all your own boys from your own city here of Belfast and further afield, and it just says to me, said, I'd love to be able to do that there, and here I am now interviewing Eamon, so.
And you're inspiring me, and you're inspiring others. I mean, I brag about you all the time, sure. I really do. I love telling people about you. I love telling people about Eamon Locker. I love it. It's very uplifting, inspiring story. So it doesn't matter where you were or where you came from. It's what you are now that's important. And
what's the old boxing saying, Eamon? What's the old boxing saying? It's not about how many times you're knocked down. It's about how many times you keep bouncing up.
Yes, that's true. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, listen, honest to goodness, up in the Crumlin Star here, the Crumlin Star Club with Mr. Raymond Macaulay at his book launch. I'm honoured, and we're all honoured today to pay homage to such a guy. Eamon, give me 5.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely brilliant.
God bless you, my friend. Yes, thank you.